The sport of golf, because it plays on a wide campus course, was one of the first sports to come back. And we learned a lot from the sport of golf by its ability to be leaders, be innovative, be willing to try new things. And it's been a tremendous year for the sport. We still have the Masters coming up in a short window of time. And it's just really been a tremendous year. So this next panel is on the resurgence of golf, but for that very reason, that very name. Not to suggest that golf was pre-resurgence, but it's been more of a tremendous year of golf. And what better panelists to represent that topic than the group we have in front of us. So allow me to quickly introduce and get out of the way, because what they will share with you is far more enjoyable than anything that I will say. Annika Sorenstam needs no introduction. World Golf Hall of Famer and one of the greatest. Thank you for being here. Alex Kaplan, who I've known for quite some time and have worked with across Discovery and Golf TV, is battling the sunlight coming in from his window and enduring the climate to be here. Runs Discovery and Golf TV and is a good friend. Chris Wandell, the PGA Tour. I think few people in the world have done more deals. Maybe one of the people he's done a deal with has done about the same number, if not more deals, on the other side of one of his betting partnerships. But Chris has been a longtime friend and an innovator and a leader and a thought producer in terms of where the industry goes next, not just in the sport of golf, but in digital media and technology across the board. And Yu Chang, who again I met back in the early days of Major League Baseball. Did I think my first deal at BAM with Yu Chang when he was running World Golf Tour. We called it WGT Baseball because it couldn't have the word golf in it if it was a baseball game, and is now the president of Top Golf Media. So between the rights owner, the rights holder, a tremendous athlete, an experiential and digital and gaming executive, and a golf personality, I will get out of the way and let you guys take it away. I'll see you in about half an hour, 40 minutes or so. So take it away, guys. Enjoy.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. And I'm Jeff Eisenband, broadcaster. I've done a few things in golf. I've actually, some of the people on the panel here, I've hosted content for Top Golf with Yu Chang. I was actually on PGA Tour Live broadcasting, live PGA Tour product. Last week, I've done stuff with Golf Magazine, and for MSG Networks, I've contributed golf content. Jeff talked about all the deals you guys have done. I've done 0 business deals, but still excited for today and to get to know a lot of this resurgence of golf, especially on the business side. And when we use the word resurgence, we think everything was smooth sailing, but obviously it was not this year in the face of the COVID-19 pandemic. So I want to go back a little bit to each of your organizations. If you could explain how you had to adjust in this year going back to March. And I think Chris Wandell, you're the person we need to start with, because the PGA Tour was in the middle of its trademark event, played one round of the Players Championship, and then went on hiatus. How did the PGA Tour adjust this year?
Wow. Well, thanks for having me on, and thanks to the rest of the group for being on with me. I think we're all humbled to be here with Annika. I wish we could just sit here and ask you questions, Annika. But to go back to March, it seems like a few years ago. I think in everybody's mind, the Players Championship was played that week that the NBA shut down. We had completed one round, and our commissioner came on TV and said that we're canceling the event. And I think from there, it's been pretty quiet. In the weeks following that event, I think we were all trying to figure out when our sport's going to restart again. When is the PGA Tour and when is golf going to be able to be played again? And how do we get our business back going again? So I think we announced that week that we were canceling all events through the Masters and planning to restart at the RBC Heritage. A few weeks after that, we canceled more events, and then aligning with all of the other golf organizations, including the LPGA, the PGA of America, and Augusta, we put out a new schedule in the early part of May that had our restart at the Charles Schwab Challenge the second week of June. So once we put that stake in the ground and said we're going to start playing again, we want to conclude our season with the Tour Championship and reschedule the US Open and the Masters for later in the fall, we felt like things could kind of get back on track with every part of our business, with the exception of fans and ticketing and things like that. During that time, it was an incredible challenge, just trying to come up with content that made sense for our fans, working with our media partners like Golf TV and other partners like Topgolf, just to get things kind of going again and keeping the momentum going. There's a lot I can share on that topic, but I want to make sure that some of the other panelists have a chance to answer the question.
Yeah, we're going to get to that, but because you did mention Golf TV there, for Alex, for people that don't know Discovery Golf, having Golf TV, having Golf Digest, Golf TV having the rights to the PGA Tour, basically everywhere except the United States, having an exclusive content deal with Tiger Woods. There's a lot going on but from the content side, the live product around the world stops. And how do you adjust to that as a content provider?
Yeah, well, I think I was with Chris the night before it was canceled down in Ponte Vedra, and that was really the kickoff to the PGA Tour season, and for Golf TV, sort of the beginning, really the sort of true beginning of our season. And so just taking a step back, Discovery Golf is really made up of two components. One piece is Golf TV, which, as you said, is a live streaming product that carries all of the PGA Tour rights, and in many markets, European Tour and some of the other majors everywhere in the world. The other piece of our business is Golf Digest, which Discovery acquired about a year ago, which is, you might imagine, has moved from being a print publication to a primarily digital play, with the real focus on playing golf and engaging with the sport, not just watching it. And so we had to make a very quick pivot. The reality was Golf TV was going to be difficult to exploit the way we wanted to starting in March without any live content. We certainly worked very hard with Chris and his team at the tour to put on the best replays that we could think of. We did a whole retrospective on Tiger. I think that took about a month. But ultimately, we had to understand that without live golf, it was going to be difficult to deliver our customers what they expected. They bought the product, they subscribed to the product to watch live golf. So we tried to give them what they want, but we're also really liberal in crediting them and saying, hey, we're going to make it free for a month because we want to keep you engaged with us, but we're not going to ask you to pay. And so that was number one. On the Golf TV side, we tried to be really honest with ourselves and with our customers about what was going on, and really not try to cheat the system. The good news for us is that on the Golf Digest side, really from day one, things were blowing up. Even before golf courses opened up all over the US, that they were some of the first sort of outdoor sports you could do. People were outside just hitting golf balls in their backyard. Our traffic on Golf Digest was higher in March and April in many parts of the country than it was the previous year. So we tried to pivot and take a lot of that sort of content, that playing content, and certainly exploit it on Golf Digest, but also exploit it on Golf TV. And then, obviously, once golf came back, and this may be a different topic, Jeff, but it just started to blow up. The level of engagement, the number of people buying the product, watching the product, the length of time they were spending with us just was literally, in many cases, 2x what it was the prior year. So we kind of hung in there at first, and then really reaped the benefits once golf started to come back.
Yeah, I think in one word, when we talked a couple of days ago, Alex, you brought up the word participatory, as I've tried to enunciate that. And I think that contributes so much to the resurgence of golf in 2020. Annika, well, Jeff Volk gave you a great intro. I just have to add for the people out there, 72 LPGA Tour wins, 10 major championships. And, something really important right now is founder of the Annika Foundation, which you're so active with. And you personally have a lot of events that you run, and there's a lot of instruction that goes on in your life. And a lot of that is done, if not all of it, in person. So how did you have to change, but also with this high number of people interested in golf in this pandemic, kind of adjust to everything?
Yeah, it's been a very interesting time. I was actually at the Players Championship also when all this was coming down. And just a month prior, we had to cancel we have 7 global tournaments. We had to cancel one of our tournaments in China because of this. At the time, we really didn't know. I think we all had heard of COVID-19, but we really didn't know if it was going anywhere. And so we canceled that in February. And then I was at the Players, and then everything else shut down. And that's when I realized that I think a lot of our global events will not take place this year. So yeah, out of these 7 events, we've only been able to host one, which was in January, which is in just here around the corner in Florida. But yeah, I mean, as a player, a philanthropist, a corporate ambassador, and a mentor, you can imagine that it's just been very, very different for us and the Annika brand, and especially the foundation. So we have to, just like some of the other presentations, you kind of go back to the drawing board and say, we're not going to shut down, but what can we do to keep relevant? How can we continue to share the knowledge? How can I continue to reach out to these girls and inspire them? Because that's really what we're about. Our tagline is more than golf. And so we wanted to try to keep in touch with them. And just like we're doing right here, I feel like I've been in front of a screen, not always sitting, but it's been a lot of instructional session, whether you have a putting green, like a lot of corporate events that have done is, the company will send out putting mats to their customers, and then they will set it up in their office or their apartment or in the kitchen, and I will do a virtual putting lesson to go through the basics. And like you said, I mean, there's so many people are interested in the game of golf, and they've always had time. I mean, especially early in this pandemic, a lot of people were not able to go outside as much when you were like in the northern states where the wind, it was still cold and snowy. So a lot of them will be in front of a screen, working on the putting stroke, and hopefully that would help them when they stepped out later in the summer. But yeah, it's been very interesting time. There's no doubt. Obviously, I'm glad to see competitive golf back, but there's no fans, as you know. There's no hospitality, which is normally I would be. Today I'm probably in Chicago for one of the women's major, the KPMG LPGA Championship or PGA Championship that they're playing. So yeah, I try to just be as keep the exposure going, try to connect as much as we can with sponsors. These people have been, I think, very creative. I know the LPGA and the PGA Tour are really trying to get content out there, whether it's just instruction or whether it's just, engaging in different seminars like we're doing here. So, but I'm so glad that golf is considered a COVID sport. I don't know if that's a compliment, but I think we all know that rounds are up the last few months, participation and the members of the clubs are more active than they've ever been. So, everything has not been that bad, and hopefully we can capitalize on these and continue to keep these members or these participants or green fee players, keep them interested in the game of golf, because that's what, the last 12 years I've been focusing on, just growing the game of golf. So, hopefully we come out of this and we'll see more people enjoying the game of golf. That's so great.
Yu Chang, we've had a lot of conversations so far about professional golf, about competitive golf, about being at a club on a course. Well, Topgolf's tapped into something in this country and around the world, getting people, turning the driving range into such an interactive experience. Of course, a lot of Topgolf locations were forced to shut down at the beginning of this pandemic. I remember I followed Topgolf accounts. I think the first one that opened back up was in Oklahoma. Thought that's going to be a tough trip for me from the New York area. But for Topgolf, the way that you guys have had to stop and pivot, what has it been like over these last few months?
Yeah, I think we're really lucky that our roots are in kind of a startup, mentality, and that's the type of people we hire. And, we've really had to, adjust and reinvent ourselves. At the very beginning, it was all about sort of just taking care of our people and be compassionate. We had over 22,000 associates at the time, and we unfortunately had to either lay off or furlough almost all of them. And then we built that back up to almost 20,000 again now. And just that wear and tear on being a person is tough. And so we really focused on that. We're very lucky now that all our venues are open. We actually even opened up a venue in Monterrey, Mexico, that's doing really well. And that, we really focused on reinventing the Topgolf experience to be really safe. And we are also fortunate that almost all our facilities, the majority activity takes place outdoors. And so it's one of the few places where you can go with your whole family and people that you've been quarantined with and have a better, more fun, very, very safe experience. And we take safety really, very, very important to us. And, from the beginning, even before COVID, our role we view as really to grow the game of golf. And, if you look at a few NGF studies and others, of the new golfers who entered the game in the last 3 3 or so years, close to a quarter of them said that they discovered golf or started it at Topgolf, and then moved on to green grass golf. So, we've been adjusting, and we, like the others, saw massive growth in our digital assets. So we really doubled down on that. And, we view our other role as to really bring people together. So in this COVID time where you feel isolated and alone, we try to connect you digitally, and we run a ton of virtual tournaments now and esports and streaming, of which you were part of. But so as Graham McDowell and Adam Wainwright and MLB and Seth Curry and NBA, we're all running tournaments and raising money and trying to do all the virtual events that aren't able to happen right now in physicality. And so we're just really embraced it, and we're doing the best we can. We're happy that the game is doing well.
Yes, Yu Chang mentions I hosted a stream with NBA players. We had Danilo Gallinari was talking to me while playing WGT golf while his wife was making pasta in the background. So definitely a different sort of interactive experience. And a lot of those, we see it in the NBA bubble. That's a perfect example of where golf has met with new people who might not have been fans in the past. Annika, I don't want to date you, but you turned professional before I was born. And so you've been around the game a long time. And my question for you is, when you look at the accessibility and the inclusivity of golf at the beginning of your start as a pro to now, what have you noticed?
Well, I stopped playing golf when I was 1, so that's. But now, kidding aside, you're right. I mean, a lot of things have happened, and being a European, I've kind of seen that side of it, and then being in the U.S., seen this side of it and experienced it. It's really come a long way. I think of when I started. I was 12 years old when I started, and there was there were no junior girls. Hardly any junior girls. I have a younger sister. I think it was the 2 of us at the club. And then the rest of us was boys. So, for us to play, we need to kind of hang out with the boys. So, fast forward just on that note, 15 years ago, there was, they figured out that it was 15% of our juniors were girls. And today, I don't even know the after COVID numbers or during COVID, but before COVID, it was 33% of all the juniors were girls. So it's literally doubled in 15 years, which obviously I'm really thrilled about, because that's where we spend our time with junior girls. And so, again, when I started, there was hardly anybody. And there were there hardly any junior clubs at the time, but you couldn't find any junior clubs. And then even in college, I remember just playing in men's clubs. I remember wearing a men's hat, and I have a very, little head, and the hats was just nothing fit. Golf clothes, it was men's extra small. There was nothing for women. And so, things have really come a long ways. You go to golf clubs, and now, you have obviously groups for women and so forth. And there's a ton of stuff that have changed. Now I have the Annika collection just targeted for women, and, it's getting there. And I think that, to grow the game, which is obviously a big topic here, is to understand the demographic, and there's still a lot of room for women. So I think when we do initiatives, you need to talk to women, what makes them feel comfortable. It can be a very intimidating sport, as everybody knows. But bringing women in with other women, kind of ease that pain for some of them. So, there's a lot of things I think have been done in the sport to kind of more neutralize the gender and just feel like, okay, we're golfers. It's not just men and women, so that everybody feels comfortable. And if you think of it, I can't actually think of any other sport where family it goes so well with family, old, young, men, women, and professional and amateur. You can all play together. So golf has so many benefits. So I'm glad that golf is in the forefront of this issue, and hopefully continue to be so.
I think it's just a few protein shakes and some steak, and you could shoot 9 under at TPC Summerlin. No, I digressed. What's going on today? Bryson DeChambeau's 9 under, if anyone was wondering. Annika, also, I believe that's the Cutter and Buck. That's your collection that you're wearing there. If anyone is wondering about Annika's beautiful line that she has on right now.
Thank you.
Little plug for you right there.
I appreciate it.
Chris, the PGA Tour, as you alluded to at the beginning, was one of the first professional sports organizations to come back from this pandemic. And I believe numbers were higher than people might have expected after some of those charity events we should mention that the PGA Tour was involved in that led in to the actual competition coming back. How have you tried to keep those new viewers that you've been getting coming in?
It's a great question. I think kind of time will tell as golf in this time of the year, especially, and as 2021 begins, as to how when things return to normal versus many of the other sports. I think that since we started back, in the middle of June, our numbers across almost every metric, obviously from a media perspective, have been through the roof. I think our U.S. media partners in Golf Channel, NBC, and CBS, many of our international partners, including Discovery, have experienced, as Alex said, significant and shocking increases in consumption and time spent and tune in and sort of diversity of audience. We see that across our subscription product in PGA Tour Live, which you know very well, Jeff, because you called it for us last week. We appreciate that. Our unique users between that 3-month period, if you look at it year over year, we're up kind of 60-70% range, which is huge for us at that time of the year. Our time spent per user on our digital platform, our PGA Tour Live, was up, double-digit percentages, and users are spending kind of an average of 3 hours and 21 minutes per week, which is huge from a live sports consumption perspective. In terms of how we continue to engage them, we think that we're doing a pretty good job so far of trying to kind of continue the drumbeat of building familiarity between our fans and some of the most popular players that have won. You mentioned Bryson DeChambeau, who just won the US Open. He's leading today at the Shriners in Vegas. And I think as we go into next year, we are incredibly excited to kind of continue to build that drumbeat of fan growth.
There's a guy who I think people have heard of named Tiger Woods, who came back to essentially came back into PGA Tour glory about 2.5 years ago now. And Alex, you guys at Golf TV have landed an exclusive partnership with him. How has that content partnership been, and how important is it for you two? Because for all of you guys, Tiger's not going to be around playing on the PGA Tour forever, I don't think. But how important is it to harness what he's brought back to golf to create fans for the long term?
Yeah, well, we certainly hope that he'll keep playing forever. So I can try to convince myself of that. But I think you're right. We obviously need to prepare for a world where when he's not playing. But also taking a step back, we closed our deal with Tiger a bit over a year ago, and it's a really interesting deal. I think it's the first time he's sort of done a content-oriented deal. Certainly, it's an endorsement in many respects. We have the rights to use his image and things like that. But that's not why we did the deal, and that's not why he wanted to work with us. This was a way and a means for Tiger to kind of more authentically tell his story directly to fans via the Golf TV platform and now via the Golf Digest platform. So a lot of what we've done with Tiger has been not about following him on the course. Everyone does that, and we want everyone to do that because he's so popular. And so we just launched a few weeks ago the second series. It's called My Game. It's an instructional platform all about Tiger, teaching fans, golfers, getting inside his head about why he's so good, how he approaches shots. This year, literally, we get into the weeds. How does Tiger hit it out of the sand? And it's been really a phenomenal success for us. It drives an amazing amount of engagement, even outside the U.S. and certainly inside the U.S. We have a subscription instruction product on Golf Digest called Golf Digest Schools, and we're seeing really amazing growth there. And the thing I'll say about Tiger is, I'm actually, all joking aside about him playing forever, we get to, because in digital, you can measure everything. We know that anytime we post anything about Tiger, frankly, whether it's him talking about what he had for breakfast or him getting into the details of his round, it drives engagement and eyeballs beyond anything else you see in golf. And quite frankly, you see that on the ratings. And while we can't get him to play golf until he, potentially on the PGA Tour until he's 65, I actually think Tiger wants to be involved in the game. And so if we can find ways for him to continue to tell stories, I think Annika is a great example of that. She's still involved in the game in so many different ways. I think if Tiger can find creative ways, and if we at Discovery and the other folks at the PGA Tour and others on this call can help keep him involved in a way that gets fans interested, eyeballs on the game, well, that's a really positive story for everyone.
Yu Chang, one way that you guys at Topgolf, and we should talk about, you come more from the Topgolf media side, especially, and Topgolf as a brand has had this opportunity to engage fans interested in golf to a level off of the actual, whether it be the mats, whether the actual course. How have you used those sort of, I'll call it golf accessories, to connect with fans?
Yeah, I blink and now all of a sudden I've spent 20 years doing non-traditional golf. My journey started in golf with WGT, where my co-founders and I had this dream that we could sort of democratize the game by bringing a lot of people into the game of golf by making a digital golf game that was free to play. And it was really one of the first large free to play golf games ever. And a little different than the great game, that the PGA Tour and EA had done. But we wanted a game that everyone could play, regardless of, what your income is and if you owned a console or not. And that proved to be very true. And I was very lucky to get merged up with Topgolf here, where they believe the same things. And we really, truly believe that the resurgence of the game and the growing the game is embracing, wherever your background is, whatever your race is, whatever your gender is, sort of leveling the playing field. And digital is what, the tool and the platform that we use to do that. And that's why we spend so much time, building out our esports platform. That's why we invest in WGT. That's why we invest in Toptracer to basically help other driving ranges use technology to make the game of golf more fun and more accessible, to help with scoring. We are just about to launch an Angry Birds version of Topgolf to really bring kids and families into play, so that you still hit a golf ball, but you can see the birds fly and you get to destroy a few structures in the virtual world, which is hugely satisfying, especially if you just watch the debate, you might have a little anger. So you got to get that stuff out. And, we believe that's what the digital platforms are for. And during the pandemic, it's all those digital assets, all the ancillary accessories that we built that are just, expressions of the Topgolf ethos that we want everyone to play. We welcome everybody. And we want to connect people, because if you can connect with people, play a game together, and break bread, we think that the world will be a better place, because, you get to know people better, and it's all about, us being humans and sharing common experiences. And, that's my charter every day, is to create more and more experiences that do that.
One experience that a lot of golf fans and non-golf fans are having right now is betting. I'm looking right now. Patrick Cantlay was plus 1850 to start the week. He's 3 under through 5 holes. That's something that someone could have jumped on before the week didn't. Chris, you at the PGA Tour, you guys have jumped into the sports betting world really rapidly, I'd say, in the last year or two. Of course, fantasy golf being around for a bit as well. When I did PGA Tour Live, I came in the door. They said, you're going to have to do 2 reads for DraftKings Sportsbook. So that's how embedded it is in what's going on. How did betting change, especially while golf was one of the only games in town? How did betting affect the resurgence in 2020?
Sure. It's been really important to us. And while we're diving in head first, we are still taking it slow in some respects. I just think there's a lot of activity going on with some of the partnerships that we've announced recently. And our executive team has really challenged us as an organization to start to help our fans understand what plus 1100 means. So as betting is rolled out from a state-by-state basis, legally in 21 and beyond, that fans know what they're talking about and they can kind of be educated by us. So I think number one, it's always been a strong fan growth tool. We think that we're reaching new types of fans and a more diverse set of fans as betting gets rolled out. We also think that as legal sports betting rolls out in the United States and even internationally, where it's been legal for a long time, the PGA Tour getting engaged in a big way is going to create sort of a more connected experience with even hardcore golf fans that don't know anything about betting. I think as all of us that play, the first thing you do on the first tee when you're not in competition is ask what you're playing for. So betting has always been inherent to the game of golf, and we've kind of embraced that. And I think that when the shutdown happened, we accelerated a lot of our initiatives just because we knew the PGA Tour was going to come back faster than most sports. And the fans aren't allowed on site for many of our events, for all of our events this year. So we needed a way to help engage. So we very quickly approached the market. And in the months of July, August, and September, we announced official betting operator deals with DraftKings Sportsbook, BetMGM, PointsBet, and FanDuel. So now all of these betting operators have, they've acquired the assets that they can use to promote our sport and try to engage their audience as states roll out. They've become like a really interesting part of our content strategy as well. We work with a lot of our media partners. We're in deep planning phases with our U.S. media partners. We've talked to Alex and team about what does the future look like from media consumption and betting content perspective. We announced a deal earlier this year, and it's really been getting going since the restart with the Action Network, which is a betting focused content platform. So we launched Golf Bet with them. That's been very successful as well. So we're really excited to learn as much as we can, experiment with our partners and with our fans to figure out what they like and what resonates.
Alex, he mentioned you there from a content provider perspective. How do you adjust to sports betting being such a prevalent part of all golf tours?
Yeah, I think it just drives more engagement. And so for us, we think about it in sort of two buckets. One, when we're in our sort of Golf Digest hat, it's a big part of the editorial approach that we now take. We're not just writing about who might win the BMW championship. We have to write about all the different betting options that exist there. I mean, so in working closely with Chris and the Golf Bet team, there's lots of ways to kind of integrate that content. The really exciting piece, and we're not there yet, is ultimately to integrate in the video assets with a betting platform. So imagine being able to watch a PGA Tour event in an app experience and in real time, whether it's partnering with like DraftKings or a FanDuel or whoever a betting operator might be in a different country, to be able to literally bet on the screen as things are happening. And we're not quite there yet. And I think there's probably a lot of sports that want to have that vision, but it's really within our sights. And in our case, it's within our rights as well. So we're excited about where that's going to go in the next couple of years.
Yeah, I will second that it's kind of, there will be a time in the next few years where I think you can be watching the golf product and betting side by side. We're running a little low on time. So I want to do from each of you, I want to get an idea of where you think the world of golf is going in the next, say, 5 years. Annika, I want to start with you.
Okay, thank you. Well, I think today and COVID has really shown everybody that golf is a sport for a lot of people. I think it's showing the benefits of golf from a health perspective, being outdoors, families, what I mentioned many times. Obviously I would love to see the women get some more exposure. I think this betting is really fascinating. I think that's opening a new demographic, as was mentioned, and also Topgolf has a lot to do with the future. So I want to say golf is in good hands. I think we got some great momentum on the side. Let's just take advantage of this and continue this fun ride with the game of sport. I'm going to continue on my end with try to inspire the next generation of young girls around the world. Like I said, we have 7 now, and then we touch over 600 girls a year. So my goal is to get over 1,000. So we have a big mission, but nothing is holding us back. On the contrary, we're still very excited about our initiatives.
Yu-Cheng, what's next?
Yeah, I look forward to, a really, really fun sport. I think that, embracing the entertainment value of it, letting people have fun on the course, some of my best times are just grabbing a 6-pack in one club and going down. I embrace a world where there's more of that in golf and much more diversity. I want to see a lot of different people playing golf and being really successful at it from non-traditional places. I really think that's exciting.
One club, Yu-Cheng. Alex, final thoughts.
Yeah, I think, one of the challenges golf has always faced is fragmentation. And as the world becomes more global, there's a lot of tours, there's a lot of different events. And I think the industry is really is figuring out that, man, if we could come together, whether it's men's and women's tours, different federations, and create a more of a one-stop shop so fans can really understand the world of professional golf and it's more global, I think there's a massive opportunity.
And Chris?
I'm excited about the potential for the future of our game from both a participation and competition perspective. The guys on the PGA Tour who are out there winning right now, like Bryson and Matthew Wolff and Colin Morikawa, they were all inspired by Tiger. And on the LPGA Tour, all the late teens, early 20s players were all inspired by Annika. And I think with the popularity of the sport right now, I just can't wait for kind of that next generation of players to kind of come out and show what they can do.
Thank you to all our panelists. Thank you to all who watched the resurgence of golf.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Thank you, guys. What a tremendous panel. I just saw that I think Bryson had 6 eagle putts today, which I've only had 5. I think Annika's, but
You mean in your life? No?
I've played with two people on this panel. I won't name which two, but I've never seen six eagle putts
Wow.
in a round. So first of all, thank you. That was a fun dialogue, and really appreciate everyone being a part of it. Over the course of the last 2.5 hours, we've covered a ton of material. We've covered sports rights in media. We've covered overcoming adversity. We've covered what's going on in the world of tennis live from Italy in the middle of an active event. And we've covered the explosion of the sport of golf, and many things are to be taken away from this. I think first and foremost is people won't remember necessarily what goes on each day to day, but they will remember how you make them feel. So I'll take a quick sip of my water and suggest that we all choose kindness and have a little bit of humility, determination, inspiration, compassion, and kindness. I want to thank a few people that were involved in making all this happen. Our advisory board at the Global VC Sports teams who have been tweeting and active in the background. The Live Like team has been involved in a lot of our engagement and interactive tools. And the Advertising Week team has been absolutely tremendous as we pulled together quite a bit of content over a course of 2.5 hours. I loved what Francis said earlier on, that you can't go wrong with being yourself. We're a person first, an athlete or an executive second. And I think that's critical now more than ever. We are now intended to turn the cameras over to Kevin Hart, so that he'll be all warmed up by this audience, although I do believe that Kevin Hart perhaps should be warming up for us. So there's a joke on the fly. Very apropos to last night's vice presidential debate. Couldn't let that one go. No intended joke there, but apropos. So I will leave it with the following. Thank you, everyone. Truly an inspiring and tremendous panel. Our goal across Global VC Sports is to support our athletes, our leagues, our teams, broadcasters, publishers, brands, agencies, partners, entrepreneurs, and investors. We are one team. Sports never stop. Fans never stop. So be creative, innovate, and we'll do this again soon. So truly, thank you, everyone, for being a part of this, and be safe. It's a crazy time now more than ever. Mask up, and hopefully see you at an event again soon. Thank you.